You were thrown into a heavenly prison by the Empress just 2.5 days ago. After learning the news, the first thing your parents did was not to rescue you. Instead, they found an 18-year-old girl to carry on the family line and guide you for 3 days. You got drunk and molested the Empress's most beloved sister. Even though your father was the minister in charge of the imperial finances, he couldn't release you on bail. However, you were thrown into the sky jail, but you didn't panic at all. Instead, you were happily looking forward to this day, because you found that there is such a green talisman in Dakion. As long as you invent something that establishes the country and make up for the fault, the penalty can be reduced. Moreover, the Wangman in the north is attacking the Dakion dynasty at this time. In just half a month, the dynasty lost a total of 60,000 elite soldiers. After thinking of this news in my memory, as long as gunpowder is invented, you may have a glimmer of hope of survival. So when your wife Qin Shuyun came to visit, you asked her for charcoal, sulfur and disappearance. Qin Shuyun was stunned. Could it be? Is my son scared out of his mind? Why did he leave the living beauty without doing anything but instead came with some insignificant things? Qin Shuyun soon brought everything you needed and you started to develop gunpowder without saying a word. Soon after, the large bomb was completed, but just in case, even with the big killer weapon of gunpowder, Her Majesty the Queen still had to be given a step. Then you started to write a short essay of 6,000 words, the general content of which was to serve the country. Show loyalty to the people and study gunpowder to come up with ways to defeat the enemy for big money. After everything is ready, you called your mother Qin Shuyun and seriously told you to give this memorial to my father and ask him to forward it to Her Majesty the Queen and tell her that it can save her. My life's treasure. If you don't believe it, ask her to send people to conduct experiments. Put it outside in an open space, light the fuse, and quickly push it outside the tree and stone tent. There must be no one around, otherwise you will die or be disabled. Qin Shuyun Wenyan's back was so frightened. I still don't believe what you said, Howard. What are you trying to do? Can this really save you? At the same time, Qin Shuyun in the Zhao mansion pointed to the wooden box next to her and said, Howard, this is a bomb made of gunpowder. As long as the sky thunder is presented to the queen, it can save his son's life. Zhao Wenxiang was confused when he heard the gunpowder blast. What was this thunder? He walked over and opened the box and saw 10 wine jars of the same size placed neatly inside. Is this what Howard said? Qin Shuyun quickly explained that Howard said that it would be enough to put the wine jar in an open place and light the fuse. He also said that you definitely don't believe it, but you will understand everything if you try it yourself. Zhao Wenxiang was stunned for a moment. That boy really said that. He took out a wine jar from the wooden box and held it in his hand. Then he asked one of the attendants around him to light the fuse, and then immediately ran towards the entrance of the courtyard. Suddenly, there was a loud thunder and the ground fell to the ground. The terrifying power was filled with majestic energy, and countless bricks and stones were blown apart. Even the house collapsed. Zhao Wenxiang and Qin Shuyun at the door were shocked. They turned around and looked into the yard, only to see the door. A corpse with blood and flesh flying everywhere was the man who was responsible for lighting the fuse just now. Seeing this scene, Zhao Wenxiang felt a huge wave in his heart. At this moment, many people in the yamen also ran over quickly. Mr. Zhao, what is going on? Don't ask. In addition, quickly tell people not to let anyone get close to this yard. This news must not spread. Looking at the mess in front of him, Zhao Wenxiang was speechless for a long time. Is this the flames and thunder created by his son? This kind of power is really earth-shattering. Tell me. He arranged for someone to deal with the mess here, then took 2 close guards and headed towards the palace non-stop. At this moment, the Queen Zhongwaner in the Zhaofeng Palace was standing in front of the desk and writing something. She had already written something after returning from Chengming Palace. Hundreds of words of quiet couldn't make her really calm down. Instead, the more she wrote, the more irritated she became. At this moment, a young eunuch quickly ran in from outside. His Majesty's Chamberlain, Mr. Zhao Wenxiang, asked to see him and said he had something important to do. He asked Zhongwaner every eyebrow. An announcement was made that she should come in. Not long after, Zhao Wenxiang knelt down to worship Zhongwaner. Jin Weizhuo looked at her. Not long after the court meeting had just ended, Zhao Aiqing hurriedly came to witness something important. But she was smart and guessed the purpose of Zhao Wenxiang's visit this time. Just to plead for her son, Zhao Wenxiang hurriedly attacked Your Majesty. After returning to Nishi Yamen, he got an artifact. This thing is called Hongtian Lei. It has earth-shattering and terrifying power. If it is assembled in the army, it can instantly change the battlefield situation. Ji Yute came to report. Your Majesty heard Zhao Wenxiang's words. Zhang Weiner suddenly stood up from the chair. Zhao Aiqing, what you said is true. Then Zhao Wenxiang placed the remaining 9 thunderbolts in front of the queen. Your Majesty only needs to find a fairly open place to see the effect. After that, everyone went towards the imperial garden. The 2 eunuchs carefully carried the wooden box. The father-in-law could light the fuse. Remember to run away immediately after lighting it. The little eunuch agreed and lit the fuse. Soon after, everyone heard a bang in the place where the thunder exploded. Almost instantly, a deep pit appeared. The sound was so loud that it hurt the ears. The majestic air waves seemed to be transmitted to everyone. It was so terrifying. Zhang Weiner, the boss of Maimo Deng, everyone was so scared that they could not stand. Even Zhao Wenxiang was quite scared. I was shocked that that bastard son had really created a huge weapon that could destroy the world. I don't know how long it took. Zhang Weiner finally came to her senses. Zhao Aiqing completely understood who made this thing. Why did Zhao Wenxiang say that once the thunderbolt is installed in the army, it can turn the tide of the war in an instant? This is even more terrifying than what Zhao Wenxiang said. At this moment, Zhao Wenxiang heard Zhang Weiner ask him and secretly thought, "Your Majesty, the invention of the thunderbolt, the person who was doing this was none other than Zhao Hao, the son of Weiqan, who had become an internal weapon." Zhang Weiner was immediately startled after Wenyan, and his brows furrowed directly. Regarding Zhao Wenxiang's words, he instinctively did not believe what kind of person Zhao Hao was and what kind of reputation he was. He was too much. It became clear that when Zhao Wenxiang saw something wrong with the queen's face, he knelt down quickly. "Your Majesty," the minister did not dare to hide anything. Then he told Zhang Weiner the whole process exactly. Finally, he reached into his arms and took out your confession. "Your Majesty, this is Zhao Hao." He asked the minister to forward a memorial written in the prison to His Majesty. Zhang Weiner was a little surprised and gestured to the relatives on the side to take the memorial from Zhao Wenxiang. However, when he unfolded it, he was stunned. Just 6,000 words that sincerely penetrated into the heart. Such a beautiful memorial is really the good-for-nothing bastard boy Zhao Hao who wrote this in classical Chinese. Zhao Wenxiang said quickly. When Zhang Weiner said this, Zhao Wenxiang relaxed and became his son's fate. After finally saving it, Zhang Weiner waved her hand. "My dear, you immediately went to Tianlao to get back the manufacturing method of this thunderous thunder." He was about to make a large amount of this thing to deal with the wild beasts. Zhao Wenxiang Wenyan quickly agreed and looked at his back as he left. Zhang Weiner looked to the side. "Go clearly and find out where Zhao Wenxiang got the method of making the thunderous thunder. He doesn't believe that Zhao Hao created the thunderous thunder. At the same time, you have already slept 3 times in the prison. Count the time. Someone should be here." Just when you were getting a little irritable waiting, there was a burst of chaotic footsteps at the end of the corridor. When you came closer, you saw that the leader was your father, Zhao Wenxiang. "I am here. Your Majesty promised to let me go. Are you out?" Zhao Wenxiang glared at you fiercely. The person who came here was ordered by Her Majesty the Queen to spare Zhao Hao the death penalty and change it to a cane. The 2 jailers agreed and quickly opened the cell door. A bench was brought over without waiting for your reaction. Put the case directly on the bench. What did you do to force it? Come up and beat it. You were about to scream. I soon discovered that although the board was struck on the nail, it was very loud but not very painful. You have seen this method in TV and movies in your previous life, but you didn't expect it to be real. After returning home, Zhao Wenxiang sneered and asked you what Hong Tianlei is. Who invented it? You blinked and it was me who invented it. However, at this time, Zhao Wenxiang obviously didn't believe your memorial. The memorial was not written by you, right? But you grinned and showed your white teeth. Dad, the memorial was also written by a child. Zhao Wenxiang was filled with rage when he wrote, okay, you beast, you won't shed tears until you see the coffin, right? I'll get you a paper and pen. Right now. If you can't write, I'll beat you to death. You took the brush and started in a rather awkward posture. Soon after you finished writing, you wrote the same memorial letter word for word in a frightened manner. Putting down the brush, you raised your head and looked at Zhao Wenxiang's father. Do you believe it now? Zhao Wenxiang fiercely put the paper down. When I caught him and looked closely at him, they were exactly the same. Zhao Wenxiang's brows furrowed into the Chinese character Sichuan. But how is this possible? You bastard, what level of playfulness do you have? I don't know when you were able to write such a good calligraphy. Dad, you are busy with state affairs all day. How often can we see each other? Zhao Wenxiang couldn't help but correct his words. Then a look of guilt appeared in his eyes. Dad was too neglectful towards you. Power, Dad was wrong. You looked at the old man with a smile. Dad used to be such a bastard, but after this time, he has really learned a lesson. Don't worry, I will never cause trouble again. Zhao Wenxiang waved his hand. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. How did you do that, Hong Tianlei? You have already anticipated these words. How should you explain this? Dad, this was a complete mistake. You know that my child used to do nothing but just want to play with it. This thing was made by my alchemy stone at that time. Listen to what you say, Zhao Wenxiang. His eyes widened immediately. He said that the gunpowder used to create the thunderous thunder would be used to make elixirs. After hearing this, Zhao Wenxiang immediately slapped you on the head with anger. Bastard, please remember this next time. I'll put myself in danger and beat you to death before anything happens to you. Then Zhao Wenxiang will give you the gunpowder formula and the detailed method of making the thunder. After submitting the memorial to Zhang Weiner, you also told Zhang Weiner exactly how you discovered gunpowder. After hearing this, Zhang Weiner sighed and said, I never expected that this terrifying thing came from alchemy. Then I bowed to Zhao Wenxiang. After exiting and waking up, he walked out from behind. Your Majesty has found out that the barbaric and whipping incident occurred since Zhao Hao was sent to the heavenly prison. Mr. Zhao has always been busy raising military pay and has not even been to the heavenly prison. During the whole process, he has not. There is no difference between contact with anyone and what Mr. Zhao said. Zhang Weiner looked forward thoughtfully. She really didn't expect that such a terrible thing would come from an unknown guy. However, Su Xing had just left a young woman who was 70% similar to the queen. He burst in angrily. This young woman is none other than Princess Yang who you teased in the street. She just got the news that you were released and went home, so she angrily came to the Jiaofeng store. Sister Huang, why did you treat Zhao Hao? The damn thing was put on Zhang Wanner's face. The smile at the corner of her mouth said in a slightly cold tone, Yangming, just use this attitude to talk to me. She suddenly realized that her attitude was too much, and she convinced Zhang Wanner. I just put away the displeasure on my face, Yangming, even if you don't come, Sister Huang will still ask you to explain this matter clearly. The reason why Sister Huang let Zhao Hao go is because she has made great contributions to our front line. Hear it. Princess Yangming naturally didn't believe what she had accomplished with that worthless piece of trash. Zhang Weiner sighed softly and told Princess Yangming everything that had happened in the past few days. How could she be so capable? She was so angry that she immediately returned to the palace. She didn't believe that you were the one who invented the thunder. I must find evidence to let the imperial sister punish her. At the same time, Qin Shuyun in the Zhao mansion looked at you and smiled and said, Howard. Come and sit down. Mother has something important to discuss with you. What she wants to tell you is about Miss Su. Before, you were charged with a serious crime and you were about to ask. Mother, please ask Miss Su to continue the fragrance for our Zhao family. Now that your felony has been lifted, you don't have to die. You can't be wronged, Miss Su. You nodded. It's natural that Qin Shuyun is very satisfied with Zhao Hao's attitude. What I meant is that I want Miss Su to clarify with you. You picked up the teacup and just took a sip of tea in your mouth. All the tea spurted out in an instant. Mom, you said, what is the clarification? Qin Shuyun smiled and nodded. Yes, it was just a clarification. You swallowed your saliva. Isn't that a bit too hasty? You asked Miss Su what she thought. Su Si, who had never spoken, stood up slowly. The master, Nujia, is very willing to be here now. If you are helpless and helpless in the sea, you can win over the wife and the young master. The truth is that you can't ask for it. You become anxious when you hear it. Miss Su, Zhao Hao, are just a bastard. If you really marry me, I'm afraid you won't have a good life in the future. You have to think about it. It's clear, but Qin Shuyun's expression was expressionless and he pulled Su Si away slowly. So the next morning, you took out the beans you soaked last night and ground them into powder to make tofu. There are a lot of steps, but it's not difficult. How much technical content. However, I personally tried it in my previous life and was able to be very precise in the process and quantity of ordering the stew. I worked hard for 2 or 3 hours on the steaming snow-white tofu and finally got it out by you. Smelling the fragrant tofu, you were filled with happiness. Come here and try the tofu I invented, master. Old Zhang came over and poured, Master, can this tofu be eaten now? Of course, master, I will give you a piece to try. You are the first person to taste this tofu. He took the wooden shovel and put it in the tofu plate. He cut out a small piece and carefully put it into his mouth. He licked it with his tongue and immediately slid it into his stomach. His eyes widened in disbelief. Young master, this tofu is so delicious. It leaves a fragrance on your lips and teeth. You smell the salt and laugh. Laughing, this product can not only be eaten raw, but can also be stewed or even fried. 1 pound of beans can make 4 to 5 pounds of tofu. Do you think if someone sells it, will anyone buy it? Lao Zhang nodded quickly, and the young master will definitely sell it. The price is no need. If it's too high, you'll be robbed. You smiled when you heard this. I thought so too. Go tell my mother that I'll make breakfast today and let her try a table of tofu. After the banquet, you take a few servants out with me. Old Zhang, the tofu seller, went happily, while you carried a few large pieces of tofu to the kitchen. Half an hour later, a table of tofu feast was ready. Qin Shuyun and Su Si came over and looked at the table of dishes filled with a special aroma. Everyone's eyes widened. You hurriedly called to the Taoist lady, Miss Su, to come over and make these dishes. I made them with a new ingredient. Try it. Qin Shuyun pointed at the original tofu cubes. Howard, this is tofu. You hurriedly used it. Putting a piece of chopsticks in front of her, she took a small bite and her eyes immediately lit up. Yes, it's delicious. The aroma fills your mouth. It's really good. You laughed and called Susie beside you. Miss Sue, come and try it. Today, Susie is wearing a goose yellow dress and her dark embroidered hair is not as natural as late season. Hanging down her back, with her exquisite facial features and her graceful figure, she is like a fairy walking out of a painting. She listens to your greetings and goes over to take a sip elegantly. Just like Qin Shuyun, her face is straightened up and her expression immediately appears. With a surprised look on your face, you quickly let the two of you taste a few other dishes. Your cooking skills were good and the two girls agreed. I plan to sell this thing on the street. You thought I would be surprised, but you didn't expect to hear what you said. The seller Qin Shuyun's brows furrowed. My child, we can eat this tofu at home. But it's not appropriate to go to the cellar. Mother, you immediately became less anxious. Mother, this is why Qin Shuyun explained to you earnestly. My child, have you ever thought about your father? You are an important minister of the imperial court and you also have an official position. If you send your son to sell tofu in the palace, what will others think of your father? It turns out that this is what I think of our Zhao family. You don't care about me. I don't think you should think so. First of all, Wei Wei's official office I have resigned from my official position. Mom, think about it. I have to eat and support my family. It's okay now. Dad and you are here to support me. But what about 10 or 20 years from now? If you and Dad are gone, I will still have to support myself. What should I do when I have to support a family? So, little girl, this is called supporting one's own hands and working hard to make money. No matter what other people say, what Zhao Hao said made Qin Shuyun feel extremely surprised. She really didn't expect it. You can actually say these words. This would have been something that you would have never dared to think about before. Could it be that this time in the small prison has really enlightened her? After thinking about it for a long time, she felt that what you said was right, and she immediately agreed. It was already daylight and the interface was already crowded with people. You and Lao Zhang pushed the cart to find an open space and hawked it for money. However, she didn't expect that as soon as the car was parked, you yourself would be the first to pull your neck and shout. What she didn't expect was you. He even boasted about the fresh soybean curd from his family's tofu. Come and take a look. The tofu made at home was delicious and not expensive. Everyone came to take a look. When you shouted like this, you immediately attracted the attention of most people on the interface. Many people stopped to pay attention. Come here, look, 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 it's really a member of the Zhao family. Looking back, that person I met once before is the young butler of Mr. Zhao's house, old Zhang. I met him once in Kuiwa building. It is Mr. Zhao who owns it alone. General Zhao Haoban, who was born with the treasure of sunny sky, was buzzing with discussion. Many people were curious and gathered around. Some were curious about you, and some were curious about what you were selling. Hello, you welcome all comers. Everyone is greeted with a smile. Everyone, listen, I said that this young master is the only son of the emissary, Qingtian General Zhao Hao. Today he came out to sell a newly invented food. As you said this, you opened the cover of the wooden box to reveal the snow-white tofu inside. Take your eyes. Tofu can be eaten raw or stewed and fried. It can be eaten by itself as a dish or with vegetables or fish and meat. It is delicious and not expensive. You can come and taste it. I heard your introduction. Everyone came immediately and became more interested and asked to taste it. You dared to rush to greet Lao Zhang and two servants to share the tofu for those who wanted to taste it. After tasting it, everyone's eyes were wide open and they asked how you sold it. You had already settled the account. It's almost like the tofu seller in the previous life. The texture is pressed out without weighing. Each piece is at least half a catty and sells for 5 cents per catty and 10 cents. The price is based on the price of beans. I can probably make a pound of soybeans, 3 to 4 kilograms of tofu. 1 kilogram of beans costs about 10 kilograms. If you make more than 3 kilograms of tofu, you can sell it for at least 30 kilograms. The profit is 300%. In other words, you can make 100 kilograms of beans into tofu every day and sell them all. A day's income will exceed 30,000 yuan, and a month can reach 100 yuan. Your father's 6-star official only earns more than a dozen yuan a month. You soaked about 20 kilograms of beans last night, so you made a total of them. I came out with more than 70 kilograms of tofu. Even after removing the few kilograms I ate at home, it was still over 60 kilograms. After listening to your quotation, many people present took out their copper coins to buy. Some with less money bought more than 1 yuan, some bought 4 or 5 yuan, and in the blink of an eye, it was more than 50. The kilogram of tofu has been sold out. When the last piece of tofu is snatched, you apologize to everyone. I'm sorry. The tofu has been sold out. If you didn't buy it today, don't worry. Tomorrow will be the same time and the same place tomorrow. After saying this, we separate from the crowd and go back. Looking at the wooden cart with half a basket of copper coins, the old man was already so excited that the young master had made money, and he had made more than 500 coins at once. However, at this moment, an inappropriate voice suddenly sounded from behind a few people. Qian Zhao Hao, you stopped for me to speak. You stopped and looked in the direction of the sound. You saw a group of people walking towards you quickly. The leader was a young man about your age wearing dark blue clothes, followed by 7 or 8 people. Martial servant, you raised the corners of your mouth and folded your arms in front of your chest. This man's name is Lu Weiren, the eldest grandson of left Prime Minister Lu Luliang. He is also the most loyal licking dog of Princess Yongming. I heard that the Lu family also intends to let him be this parent, but Her Majesty the Queen has always I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I think it's just that Princess Yongming is not interested in this guy. She should appear here specifically to avenge Princess Yongming. When Lu Weiren came closer, you spoke softly. It turned out to be Brother Weiren. What's the matter with me? Lu Weiren. The white face is covered with a thick layer of frost. Zhao Hao, what method did you use to deceive His Majesty? You are guilty of death. My dear brother, you can eat nonsense but not talk nonsense. How could I deceive Her Majesty the Queen? Your Majesty is so could it be that Mr. Weiren, who is easily deceived, thinks that Her Majesty the Queen is a dim-witted monarch. Lu Weiren was startled. He immediately drank and became arrogant. When did I ever have such a meaning? Didn't you say it all yourself? Why didn't you admit it again? Lu Weiren said, don't do it for no reason. Misinterpreted my meaning, Zhao Hao, you were disrespectful to the princess in the street. I will teach you a lesson today. Brother Weiren, what does the matter between Princess Yongning and me have to do with you? Lu Weiren was so angry that you were smiling and wanting to be beaten. The princess is strong enough. She is a relative of the royal family. If you are disrespectful to the princess, you are insulting the dignity of the royal family. I will teach you a lesson. Brother Weiren, if you say you want to be a licking dog, then be a licking dog, but don't say it so grandly, okay? Lu Weiren's face flattened. What do you mean? He doesn't understand the word. Dog licking, very well, but it doesn't feel like a good thing to say. You shake your head and forget it. It's a waste of saliva to talk about it. Come on, let me see how you want to teach me a lesson. I saw you narrowing your eyes. Lu Weiren suddenly felt a little numb all over his body. You have more than one nickname. General Capturing the Sky, and the other is Lawless Barbarian. Growing up, the number of people you beat has ranged from 100 to 80. It was precisely because he was afraid of your terrifying fighting power that he brought several physically powerful men with him. He is a strong servant, but seeing your fearless look at this moment, he can't help but feel jealous of Zhao Manzi. You insulted the princess and committed a heinous crime, but you don't even have the slightest regret. You are simply unworthy of being a minister. He really wants to greet the servant behind him. People want to do something to you, but they really don't dare to see Lu Weiren. If they don't dare to do anything, you feel that there is no point in doing it. You are a cowardless gangster who has no time to waste time with you and leave first. Lu Weiren immediately collapsed in anger. Zhao Manzi, who do you think is a courageous gangster? I don't want to show off your bravery and hurt anyone. I can't explain it. You couldn't help but ask with interest. What do you want to do? Lu Weiren took a deep breath and said, in 3 days, the annual Jingshan festival will begin. Chu Wenwei, we had a literary duel at the Jingqiu Wenwei. If you lose, kowtow to Her Royal Highness Princess Yongming and apologize in public. Brother why, this is a bit unkind. The entire imperial capital knows that I, Zhao Hao, are uneducated and you have no skills. You are quite talented and well-known. Isn't it clear that you are cheating us? You can serve the country even in Tianlao. Who dares to say that you have no ability? No need to talk nonsense. Just say whether you dare to fight. Isn't it the dignified Mr. Zhao? Even though you are scared, you still want to laugh at this brainless thing and use provocation. In your heart, you don't want to talk to this Lu Weiren. But since you have such an opportunity, no wonder you pretended to be quite unhappy right away. It's a joke. There is nothing in this world that I, Zhao Hao, dare not do. Hearing what you said, Lu Weiren suddenly liked it. It's settled. Zhao Hao waved his hand and said, Lu Weiren. Just now, you only said what I would do if I lost. You didn't tell me what you would do if I won. How to do it? Lu Weiren was stunned. He smiled and said, you, an ignorant waste, still want to beat me. Stop talking nonsense. If you lose, give me $100. Lu Weiren's eyes suddenly widened. $100 is good, it's $100. Guan Qian. Lu Weiren immediately hesitated. 100 guan was not a small amount and was not something he could come up with at all. Seeing him lower his head and hesitate, you quickly taunted Lu Weiren. Your dignified grandson, the Prime Minister of the left, would not meet you if he could not even afford 100 guan. Before leaving, Lu Weiren quickly shouted, okay, 100 guans, I agreed. He figured out that 100 guans is a lot, but with an unlearned waste like you, there's no way you can lose. You haven't entered the house yet after returning home. You just shouted loudly in the yard, Mother, we are back. Please sell all our tofu. Qin Shuyun was surprised and said that all the tofu was sold out so quickly. When he left, he saw it, but there were a lot of 70 or 80 kilograms of it. It was too fast. He stuck his waist and greeted Lao Zhang with a proud look on his face. Lao Zhang brought the money we just earned and showed it to my mother. Lao Zhang quickly asked someone to bring over the basket containing the money. The basket was covered with a layer. You opened the rag and revealed most of the basket of copper coins inside. Qin Shuyun was immediately frightened. Why is there so much money? It must be 500 coins, right? Mother, you are really sharp-eyed. Just 500 coins and not a penny. One more penny, many more dozens of pence. You just rewarded Lao Zhang and the two servants. After saying this, you came out and told Lao Zhang to get some donkeys quickly. Lao Zhang was not in a hurry. Master, one donkey is enough. You roll your eyes. Our tofu is so easy to sell. How can a donkey be brought here? After the old Chinese spoke the language, he immediately went to buy the donkey. But before I had gone far, you called me back again. We make so much tofu every day and we will produce a lot of tofu residue. Go and catch some piglets and come back. At the same time, Princess Yongning is dressing up in Yusho Pavilion and hurriedly comes from outside. Come in, the princess just thought that Lu Weiren was looking for trouble with Zhao Hao. What's going on? What is he doing to trouble Zhao Hao? Of course it's to fight against you. Princess, Mr. Lu has always been in love with you. This time he finally got the opportunity, of course he wants to show it off. Yongning looked displeased and then started fighting. Xiao Dao shook his head. That's not the case. However, Mr. Lu invited Zhao Hao to attend the Golden Autumn Literary Conference 3 days later. There was going to be a literary fight at the literary meeting. Princess Yongning was surprised. Zhao Manzi agreed. He promised that if he loses, he will kneel down in public and apologize to the princess. If he wins, Mr. Lu will lose 1 million yuan to him, and Her Majesty the Queen, who just came to court, also received the same news. Today, Zhang Weiner is in a good mood. News comes from the front line. The first batch of reinforcements finally arrived before Tumbay City was about to fall, and cooperated with the original nobles to defend the city, buying time for the second batch of supporting troops. In this way, Tumbay City was no longer in danger of falling, not to mention Hong Tianlei. When the big killer weapon is cleared, I will be in prison. How is the production of the Thunderbolt over there? Your Majesty will be in prison. He has been working day and night. Now, 3,000 Thunderbolts have been produced. 3,000 Thunderbolts are still too few. They must speed up the production. Give them 10 days to make 10,000 pieces. Your Majesty's making of the thunderous thunder requires a long discussion. The prisoner has already started to bake it by himself. He has also purchased it from the private sector. However, he can't make many at the same time. In addition, the prisoner does not have enough manpower to keep it secret. For the sake of safety, it is better not to increase the manpower first and let them work harder. You will receive your own rewards after this battle is over. Your Majesty, there is one more thing. Zhao Hao has been staying in the mansion for the past few days and has not been in contact with any special people. However, this morning he brought the Zhao mansion with him. The housekeeper and two servants went to the street to sell a kind of food called tofu. This was also laying the foundation for the subsequent opening of a restaurant. After that, you gave the vat of flour pills to the old man and asked him to go to the blacksmith shop and draw according to the drawings. Make me this set of knives as soon as possible. Zhao Wenxiang will come back during lunch. As soon as I entered the canteen, I saw my father's gloomy face. What's wrong, Dad? This is being cooked by someone. Zhao Wenxiang glared at you angrily. The bastard is not big or small. Is he trying to find the stove again? After finishing speaking, Zhao Wenxiang said, seeing that there was a dish on the table that he had never seen before, he picked up a small piece with his chopsticks and put it in his mouth. In less than half an hour, he sold it for 500 Wenxiang. Zhao Wenxiang looked at you randomly and you were selling it on the street. Seeing that Dad seems a little unhappy, you feel a sudden thought. Dad, please don't be angry. I just want to make some money. Relying on you and Mother is not a long-term solution. But Dad's appearance of physical and mental exhaustion could mean that something happened in the court. Then I weakly asked my father, has something happened to the court? Could it be that Tomb Baikeng has fallen? Zhao Wenxiang's face immediately became confused. He said that the reinforcements have arrived at Tomb Bay City. How can it fall? Then why are you looking so sad? As long as Tomb Bay City is still in our hands, won't it be a matter of time to defeat the barbarians? Dad glanced at you sideways. Do you know what barbarians are? The reinforcements of the barbarian army have also arrived, and they will not give up until they lay down the Tomb Baikeng. This will definitely turn into a protracted war. Isn't this strategically a good thing for me, Dakion? I have a deep foundation in Dakion, and the longer we fight, the better it is for us. As soon as he said this, Zhao Wenxiang looked at you with surprise. What's wrong? Did I say it wrong? Of course not. Zhao Wenxiang just couldn't believe that you, a gangster, could actually say such a thing. After being surprised, Zhao Wenxiang sighed. You were right in your tone, but my background in Daimai is not very deep. Now there is a big gap in military expenditure. If the war continues for a long time, he did not finish his sentence, but you understand that if the war continues for a long time, there will be even more money shortage. As the internal envoy is in charge of the entire country's money, no wonder he is so worried. But if he persists, as long as Hongqianlei is built in large quantities, the war will be basically over. After lunch, you return to your room and once again take out the blueprints of the oil frying device to complete the afternoon's work. When we caught pigs, there were 10 piglets in total. They were all newborn piglets. Seeing how small the pigs were, they almost made you mad. Do you think they weighed 20 or 30 pounds? The old man looked ugly when he saw you. He quickly explained to the young master, we don't have that much money. I can only buy this kind of newborn piglet. I rolled my eyes. How is the set of knives? The blacksmith shop said that they can make them tomorrow. Mao Mao will have people soak the beans in the evening. Tomorrow morning, I will continue to make tofu. You will do it yourself for 2 days in a row. He took people to the streets to sell tofu, which was stable at more than 300 kilograms every day. It was delicious, not expensive, and could be paired with many ingredients. The reputation of tofu soon spread throughout Kyoto. Zhao Dashao took over the street to sell tofu. It spread like a dazzling wind, and everyone knew that on the third day, the Jinchou Wenwei was coming. But you didn't take it to heart at all. In the morning, you continued to supervise people making tofu. When the salesman came back, Lao Zhang reminded you that today was the beginning of the literary meeting. After changing your clothes, you came to Su Si's courtyard, a pretty little girl. The maid hurriedly came forward. Master, are you looking for a young lady? Today is the day of the annual Mid-Autumn Cultural Festival. Let me ask your young lady if she wants to go with me and my young masters. The little maid nodded and quickly went into the house. But when Su Si arrived, a lot of people have gathered in Juxian Tower. The annual Golden Autumn Cultural Festival seems to have made people more enthusiastic because of the battle between Dakian and Wangman. Many people are talking about the battle between the two countries in Tumbaikeng. There are also many people here. We were talking about the upcoming literary fight between you and Lu Weiren. When the two of them came to the door, they met a few young people who were confused. When they saw Zhao Hao, their eyes suddenly lit up and they hurriedly came to greet them. Ha 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 ha, brother, you are really here. Brother Hao, I really miss you after not seeing you for many days. A few people gathered around Zhao Hao. There was a burst of crazy output and noise, your head was buzzing, your stomach was churning, and it was disgusting. Okay, what kind of virtues do you have? I don't know. Isn't it because you are afraid of offending Princess Yongning? These 5 people have been your friends since you were alive. They are all the concubines of the noble families in the court. They have no say in the family and they are all uneducated. Bastard, because you are the bastard and the best at fighting, so you were exposed by Zhao Hao. Several people showed embarrassment on their faces. Wang Mengyu, who was standing at the front, smiled darkly and said, Brother Hao, since you already know what is going on, you still have to say it. What are you doing? My brothers are banned. I really want to see you, but there is nothing I can do about it. You are too lazy to talk nonsense with a few people. I am too lazy to pay attention to you. After talking, I went up to the 3rd floor and saw you coming up. Everyone's eyes immediately turned to you. Isn't he young Master Zhao? I heard that Brother Zhao is going to have a literary fight with Brother Weiren today. I'm really looking forward to it. This man's name is Pang Zhenai. He is the youngest son of Pang Yuan, the envoy of the dynasty, and he has a very good relationship with Lu Weiren. I don't know who gave me the courage to dare to fight with Brother Weiren. You are simply overestimating your capabilities. You see, this person is the legitimate son of Lord Tingwei Han Guoan. Han Chong and Pang Zhen and Lu Weiren are in the same body triangle. The 3 of them met and Moni was quite talented and well liked by some literati. When you saw the 2 of them coming up, you suddenly grinned. What kind of bird are you to dare to scream in front of my young master? Why don't I have a fight with you before we fight? During the fight, the arrogance on Han Chong's Wenyan's face immediately turned gloomy and angry. You sarcastically said, why don't you dare? Just get out of here if you don't dare. The smile on Pang Zhen's face also subsided. Brother Zhao, after all, this place is a giant. Xian Lu today is the Jinchou Wenwei after all. I'm afraid it's inappropriate for Brother Zhao to talk nonsense here. You can just pass between the 2 of them and walk towards an empty seat. Then you can teach me how to do things. What should I say and do? Whether you talk nonsense or not is up to you. The little maid immediately poured tea for you and Su Si. Everyone's eyes were still on you, as the people on the 3rd floor continued to pass. The more people you gather together, the more people will look at you with the eyes of an enemy.